Hi, my name is Richard Doyle and I'm with BeLeanForLifeCoach.com, and thank you so much for subscribing to this set of videos. This is a series of 10 videos. They're free and I've made them available to people that might be interested in a coaching program. So hopefully you will enjoy these videos and give you a better idea of the kind of services that I provide. So this is the first one in the series. It's about insulin, and I hope you enjoy it. Okay then, today we're going to talk about insulin, the villain in the weight loss gain equation. Insulin is a hormone and its primary role in the body is to store fat. Going back to past times, the humans had a hunter-gatherer lifestyle. They hunted and killed animals and gathered fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds as a means of sustaining life. The DNA present in these ancestors, subject to minor evolutionary upgrades, is the same DNA we have to work with today. As a result, we evolved to take advantage of excess food availability and store food not immediately required for energy for future use in harder times. So, they would kill a huge animal and eat like kings for a few days. Remember, of course, there was no refrigeration then to preserve food. Then they'd store away the additional energy in the form of fat for the days that followed that may not have included any new additional protein. The seasons played a role also. Generally speaking, during the winter months, the food was more scarce, and during the summer months, of course, more plentiful. For example, fruits available at the end of the summer, which are high in sugar, would get stored as fat, which could then be utilized over the less plentiful months of the winter. Animals followed a similar pattern based on their breeding schedules and, in some cases, hibernation cycles. So the bottom line is we are designed to store fat in times of plenty and use those stores in times of limited availability. So what's the big problem then? Actually, it's worse than that, and I'll explain that later, because specific eating patterns will render the fat stores inaccessible energy. It's worse than that, and I'll explain that later, because specific eating patterns will render fat stores inaccessible for energy, even if we need it. So let's go back to insulin. As soon as you eat some calories, or even think about it for that matter, the liver starts to secrete insulin into the bloodstream to reduce the sugar load. And too much sugar in the bloodstream is toxic. For the cells to accept the glucose parcels, it has to have insulin receptors to allow the entry of glucose into the cell. So far, all well and good. The cells get their energy fix, and any additional energy not required will get either stored in the liver temporarily for short-term requirements, or stored as fat in the fat cells for longer-term use. So now the insulin has done its job. Blood sugars are stabilized and all is good until the next eating event. So when everything works this way, the body maintains its body composition and weight around what is called a set point. The body is very aggressive in maintaining this set point, which I will talk about in the next video. So if it's too low, you will be suffering from the symptoms of being underweight. And if it's too high, then your chances of ever losing weight, long term at least, are severely diminished. Let's look at how insulin is related to different food types. Food sources have a glycemic index and a glycemic load. The former relates to how quickly sugar is absorbed by the bloodstream, and the latter, the concentration of sugar in the food source. Suffice to say, foods with a high glycemic index and a high glycemic load spike insulin and flood the bloodstream with lots of sugar very quickly. The liver has to keep secreting insulin to keep up with the load. If this goes on for an extended period, which is the hallmark of the standard American diet, the SAD, sometimes referred to as the stupid American diet, the cells start to become insulin resistant and receptors no longer open up for business and the glucose is refused. At this point, short of generating more insulin, the majority of the glucose gets just basically stored as fat. In the panic that ensues, the bloodstream is flooded with insulin and is carrying excessive loads of sugar. This is the precursor to prediabetes and further down the road, full-blown type 2 diabetes. So as you can see, eating certain foods over an extended period will lead to all sorts of metabolic diseases, including obesity, diabetes, and many others. Hopefully by now you're getting the message. That is, what you eat has a significant impact on your health. When this signaling pathway is working correctly, the body will convert to burning fat rather than glucose. You don't feel hungry and life is good. This state is referred to as ketosis, and the body is using ketones as fuel instead of glucose. Sadly, only a tiny percentage of the population maintain a state of ketosis. So for the majority of people, this is a huge problem. Furthermore, if the insulin level in the blood is too high, the pathway is severely restricted. Worse still, if the fat cells keep banging out leptin, the brain cells can become leptin resistant, so they are no longer getting the message from the fat cells. The message being, I got your back. So it cranks up the hunger hormones to make you feel hungry and start craving carbs. Are you getting the picture? As you can see, it's a vicious cycle which will lead to even more weight gain and inevitably the onset of metabolic diseases. So briefly, what foods cause the system to break down like this? Well, sugars, starchy vegetables, pasta, bread, fruit, just to name a few. Imagine the damage that will ensue when you eat 300 grams of carbs a day, as many on the standard American diet do. That's 60 teaspoons of sugar. Say no more. Thank you for watching that video on insulin, and the second video in the series will be coming along in a couple of days, and that one's going to be on the body weight set point. I look forward to seeing you then.